Kia ora, this is Simon Britten from Think Papanui. The video you're about to watch was originally live streamed on Facebook on Saturday the 7th of September 2019 in my capacity as a Community Board candidate in Papanui Ward in Christchurch, New Zealand. Let's take a look. Kia ora, in this video I'm going to be talking about who I'm going to be voting for, looking at the Council's pre-election report, and also talking a bit about the voting process in the Christchurch local body elections here in 2019. And also answering some questions in real time through the comments on this video, through the Q&A. If there are comments, if there's some interest, you're welcome to leave me a comment, ask me a question either in real time, in which I'll endeavour to engage with that now as the technology allows me to. And if you're not watching this in real time, if you're watching it after the fact, feel free still to leave me a question in the comments. I'll keep an eye on that and be happy to come back to you. Kia ora, my name's Simon Britten. I'm a Community Board candidate in the Papanui Ward in Christchurch, New Zealand in the 2019 local body elections. And I'm doing a few of these Facebook Live videos, Meet Me Online, just as a way of connecting with people, sharing a bit of information, sharing some things about myself as well in the lead up to these local body elections. Appreciate also just any feedback you have around video quality and audio quality. I'm just checking on a monitor. It looks like my audio levels are okay, so that probably means I've remembered to unmute. Always a good start. And hopefully you can see me all right as well. It's the first time I've done one of these live streams after dark, just relying on lighting in the room. But so far as I can tell, you should be able to see me. Now, I'm going to get underway in just a minute with a couple of bullet points you can see here on this slide. Just before I do that, I'm just going to slide across to my own second screen and share this video to my friends on Facebook, and I'd be really grateful too for anybody who's watching this either in real time or if you're watching it afterwards. If you can give it a share, I'd appreciate that, because it just helps me to build my audience on Facebook, which I've got a relatively small following as they go at the moment on my campaign Facebook page. I've got quite a large following on Think Papanui. But I do keep that apolitical and independent of the election process and the campaigning process. So you'll find all news about the election process. You'll find on Think Papanui, you'll find a lot of news and information about things that are happening in Papanui, which includes Redwood, Northcote, Papanui and the surrounding areas. But you won't find me campaigning there. I'd keep a bit of separation between those two things. So firstly, just had a few people asking me around voting and who else is a candidate, who to vote for. Everybody needs to make up their own mind about those things, of course, but I'm happy to share, as I said I would in my live stream last weekend, happy to share who I'll be voting for and who I support in this election. And if you've been on Facebook today, you might already have seen a couple of posts I've put up, so do feel free to have a look on my Facebook page. You'll find some comments there. What I've said is we get one vote for councillor in our local body elections, and I've said my council vote will be going to Mike Davidson, who's our current councillor seeking re-election in that role. Prior to the current term, Mike was chair of the Community Board, so he's had a couple of terms now in local government, one as a Community Board member and Community Board chair, and now as councillor. I found him to be really accessible, really open and transparent, really easy to communicate with for myself as an individual. Philosophically, we seem pretty well aligned. He tends to support things that I'm pretty supportive of. So yeah, I've got no hesitation at all in endorsing from my perspective and saying that I'll be voting for Mike, and I wish him all the best with his campaign. Other thing I'd point out too is he's an independent candidate, and for me, I think it's pretty important that we have elected members who are independent and not necessarily aligned with a party or a ticket. That's something that's important to me, something that I've kept myself independent as well. For Community Board, we have two members who are elected from the Papanui Ward who represent us on our Community Board. I'm hoping to be one of those myself, of course. We get two votes, and one of my votes will go to me. One of my votes will go to Emma Norris, who's the current Deputy Chair of the board. She's a second term board member seeking election for a third term. And I've seen her a lot in the community. I tend to go to a few meetings and events and things wearing either my Think Papanui hat or I work for a community organisation locally and I'm a member of the community, and I frequently bump into Emma as well as Mike at those types of meetings and events. So again, no hesitation at all from me in giving a vote to Emma, and I wish her all the best in her campaign. For others in the community, if you're considering to where to put your votes, I would encourage you to consider both those candidates as well. But of course, we're all going to make up our own minds around that. Thing that's really, really important to me is that people participate in the process in voting for whoever they feel is the most appropriate candidate for them. So that's my first bullet point for the night, just on the screen up to my right. Any more questions about that? Happy to take questions as we go, or happy for you to contact me afterwards as well. Of course, you can contact me here on Facebook, either on this video or just message me through the Facebook page, or you can head to simonbritton.com/contact and you'll find a bunch of other ways you can get in touch with me as well. Second bullet point for the day is just around the Council's pre-election report. So that's a document that looks like this. I've picked up this hard copy, it's a printed copy from the Papanui Library. I was in there today, didn't see any more copies there, but there may be some lurking around. You should be able to find it in council service centres and libraries, but you can also head to the City Council's website and you'll find it online. In the election section of the Council's website, it is in fact under the information for candidates section, but I really recommend this to all members of the public as a really interesting document as you give some thought towards, again, voting in this election. There's a wealth of information in here. It is essentially a summary of information that's pulled together from a bunch of different sources and documents. So I'm just going to turn around so I can show a little bit what's on the inside of it. I am planning to shoot another video in the next week or two looking through some of the contents of this in some more detail, so I'm not going to go through it blow by blow here. It does answer a few obvious questions like why have a pre-election report? Apologies if there's a bit of glare on the page there. And one of the reasons why we have a pre-election report is it seems to be a statutory obligation under the Local Government Act. But I really appreciate the fact that we've got this because it runs through a bunch of really interesting information, a bunch of narrative stuff. Again, I will aim to put together another video around that, bunch of information around major projects, where money is going, as well as where money is coming from. And what I did just want to speak to briefly on this video today was some of the couple of things near the back. It's a couple of pages here that summarises information from a couple of surveys that the council has run. One of them is a general service satisfaction survey. The other one is a point of contact survey. That's where they're surveying people who have had interactions with council. In particular, you might be able to see this. I've drawn a bit of a circle around some things here. Again, I will come back to this in a future video. And it's in the area of what people say we can do better. We, the council, that is, not me. A bunch of stuff here as well, what people are saying council does well. So, you know, kia ora, well done to the council on some of that. But around council decision making, I thought it was really interesting. When people were asked, you know, does the public have influence on council decisions? 34% of respondents were satisfied that the public has a large or some influence. A question on satisfaction with participation and contribution, 39% satisfied. A question on understanding how the council makes decisions, 32% satisfied. So the council itself has acknowledged those are areas that need work. About a third of respondents satisfied around influence, participation and understanding. And that's an area where I'm putting my hand up as a candidate for the community board. This is an area where I think I can make a contribution locally for Papanui and for the Papanui-Innes community board. It's an area I've been working in out of my own energy and passion, I guess, running the Think Papanui Facebook page and the other associated media and outlets for Think Papanui. And yeah, I believe I can see a few things that could be run maybe a little bit differently around those areas of influence, participation and understanding. But again, if you obtain yourself an electronic copy or a hard copy of this, you'll be able to have a dig through that yourself. Just going a few more pages over, I've been reflecting on a few election signs and a bit of election advertising I've been seeing online and around town. from some other candidates, mayoral candidates and council candidates in particular. And there's a few people out there on platforms around, our rates are too high, rates rises are too high, we're going to slash rates, repay debt, do this, do that. And I'm sure there are not many ratepayers, myself included, who wouldn't like our rates to be lower, who wouldn't want our rate rises to be lower. But just a couple of thoughts on that. And there's some really good detail in the back of this around some of those topics. Some information around where the council's funding comes from and where it goes. That's the funding impact statement that I'm on this page. And further over a couple of pages, some graphs around rates, affordability, and also borrowing limits, because all of those things are connected. What the income the council has, what assets it has, what ability it has to draw income or funding from council-controlled organisations, and what it's spending, both operationally and in capital programs. All of that stuff is linked. And where I've seen a candidate saying they're going to reduce rates rises or maybe freeze rates, I'm not quite sure, and also repay debt, raises some questions about, well, what's going to give? Because with everything being interlinked, to do either one of those things, it's going to require some pretty heavy pressure on current council spending. To do both of them sounds like nothing short of a miracle to me personally. And without, if those kind of promises or claims are made without some real specific detail to back them up, seems almost a little bit disrespectful to me of the current elected members and the current council staff, because if it was that easy, surely we'd be doing it already. Council doesn't want to be heavily indebted. Council doesn't want to be drawing more money from ratepayers or council-controlled organisations than it needs to. So I'm pretty confident there's been a lot of work happening already, including under Raf Manji, current councillor and chair of the Finance Committee. I've served with Raf on the board of another organisation outside of council. Got a lot of time and respect for him, and I know he's got a very keen eye for financial details. As Raf, if you end up watching this, you might remember some of those board meetings going over budgets and financial reports and picking out a few details. So where was I heading with that thought? Yes, we'd all like those things to be managed down. We'd like to have less debt. We'd like to have less rates rises, lower rates rises. We'd like to be paying lower rates. And of course, there's a big debate around asset ownership. But something's got to give. So what's going to give if you're making those kind of promises? And Mike Davidson, in fact, if you have a look on his Facebook page, made a pretty good post the other day just around rates rises and the outlook over the next few years. In fact, rates rises are going to be the lowest they've been since prior to the earthquakes. So just an appeal for me, perhaps, from me for some good informed conversation around those topics, digging a little bit deeper than some of the easy and perhaps attractive sounding claims. So pre-election report, track it down, have a read of it. I'm not an authoritative source of information on the contents of it, but if you have got questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. But if you've got specific questions about it, the City Council would be the place to go to. Third topic of the night is voting process. Again, people are asking me, well, how do I vote? So I thought I would just touch on that a little bit and prepare another slide for me to show in a minute. So voting in our City Council elections and our local elections, local authority elections, is postal. And this is for City Council, but also for our District Health Board and also for our Regional Council, ECAN, in the case here in Christchurch. Now, all of that comes as one package in the mail if you are registered to vote, and if you were registered to vote by the time the electoral rolls closed ahead of the election, you will receive voting documents in the mail. If you've registered to vote or updated your details since then, you'll need to cast a special vote. If you haven't registered to vote yet, or if you have moved and haven't fixed up those details, head to vote.nz. It's actually not too late still to sort out your registration as a voter so that you can participate in the election. What I expect to see when the papers come out, which is from the 20th of September, so a couple of weeks' time, is voting papers, of course, and a helpful information booklet which will probably look something like this one. This is the one from 2016, as you can see here. and it contains information about, a little bit of information about how to vote and a bunch of information about who you might choose to vote for, such as these fine people who were candidates last time as well. Got that? Updated photo coming this time. That one's a little bit old now. So what you'll get in this, it's divided up by who you vote, what office you're voting for. So there are candidates for mayor, there are candidates for councillor, candidates for community board, and the candidates you can vote for also for the Canterbury District Health Board and the Canterbury Regional Council. So all of that will come in a handy little booklet. Everybody has had the opportunity to submit a photo and a candidate profile statement. So those all should be in there as well. And then there'll be voting papers. Tick the box, put some numbers in, depending on which part of the voting process it is. Here is some information I've just lifted off the council's website this afternoon. I've just had to shrink myself down a little bit to fit on the page here. And it just outlines some of the dates, looking up this way, some of the dates that are relevant to us in this election this year. Hopefully you can see that. I know I'm streaming in standard definition, not high def here, but again, this information is on the council's website, and I'll just quickly talk through it. So voting papers are out from Friday the 20th of September. That's Friday fortnight is at the time that I'm streaming this video. And any time from when you receive your papers is a great time to fill out your voting papers and put them back in the post. So you return them to council in the post, or you do have the option of hand delivering them to council chambers. And again, that information will be in that voting pack that you receive. If you plan on sending them back in the post, don't leave it till the last day, because it takes time to get things through the post. So council's saying the last day to put your voting papers in the post is Tuesday the 8th of October. That's prior to polls closing on Saturday the 12th. If you do happen to be running up to the last minute with your voting, it is not too late if you miss that Tuesday the 8th in terms of putting them in the post, but you will need to physically take them to a council library or service centre. Of course, the civic buildings in Hereford Street is another place you can take them as well. Polls close midday on Saturday the 12th of October, and we can expect some progress results fairly early that afternoon. Final results aren't declared until about the following Friday. I was just checking back on 2016, the last election, and the first progress results came out less than an hour after polls closed. So if, like me, you're pretty interested in the process and the outcome's pretty important to you or pretty interesting to you, keep an eye online on the council's website, or of course pretty much every candidate and elected member will be issuing bulletins and updates as well as the afternoon goes. So that's the bit about the process. So all these topics I've been talking about myself and talking about who I'm voting for, I guess I'm the source of authority on that, talking about the council's pre-election report and talking about the voting process. I'm sharing some information on that because I think that's interesting and hopefully it's helpful and interesting to you. I'm not the definitive authoritative source of information on those things though, of course, and I don't claim to be. So again, City Council is a great place to go in the first instance on those. Now, happy to take questions if anyone would like to share a question or post under this video. Again, in real time is great, or after the fact as well. Good evening, Michael. Hi, Don. Thanks for your comments and thanks for jumping on board. Happy to pay to have better services. Yep, I hear that comment. Cheers for that. What have I got left to do tonight? I'm going to wrap up, I think, because I don't want to be on here too long. Again, appreciate you watching this video. Appreciate it whether you're watching it in real time or afterwards. Just quickly, in terms of what's coming up, I've been running some couple of different ways to enable people to connect with me in the lead up to this election. One of them is this series of live streams, and I'll be setting up at least one more possibly next weekend. I'll sort out a date and time. I'll be advertising that on Facebook and also on my website. And I've also been running a series I've called Coffee with a Candidate, where the deal is I'm offering to buy you a coffee and have a conversation around me, around the election, around anything else you might like to discuss with me. And I've been doing that in a series of cafes. I've been moving around the ward, everywhere from Coffee Culture in Redwood, Joe's Garage on Cranford Street. I've been to Station 1 and Black and White Coffee Cartel, more in the centre of Papanui. I've been to Cafe Mint down on Wairaki Road, and this afternoon, or late this morning, I was at Cafe Hustle, which is the new name, rebranded cafe on Sawyers Arms Road, just by the railway line. I've got another date or two yet to set. I think I'll be heading back to Coffee Culture in Redwood next, so again, keep an eye out for that. So those will all be set up as events on my Facebook page. I'll be sharing those, promoting them, and also you can head to simonbritten.com/connect and you will find all my events listed there, past ones as well as the future ones, as well as other events I'm participating in that are not being organised by me, such as the 17th of September, which is a Tuesday night in Redwood. There's a Meet the Candidate evening for Papanui Ward candidates for Councillor and Community Board. I'm really looking forward to that. That's being organised by the Redwood Business and Residents Group, which I've been involved with over the last, how long's that been running? 6 months? I'm not sure. Possibly since last year. So that group has put together a Meet the Candidates evening. There's also one coming up that's been organised by the St Albans Residents Association. It's in at Bailey's Bar down on Edgware Road on the 30th of September. So that's a couple of opportunities too. Again, they're listed at simonbritten.com/connect, and you'll find them all over Facebook as well. So again, thank you very much for watching. I can see a question there with someone's asked about social housing. So a couple of quick things right off the top of my head. First one would be social housing is an issue that's dealt with at the City Council table much more than at the Community Board table. So happy to share my views, but as a Community Board member I might be feeding into Council's process in terms of the Papanui-Innes Community Board might wish to represent some views from the community, but the Community Board is not the place where there'd be decisions being made about social housing. I really would support a couple of things that I've seen other elected members, a couple of comments I've seen being made lately, including by Dion Swiggs and also our councillor Mike Davidson. I hope I'm not misquoting Dion. What I recall seeing on a Facebook post from him was his concerns around the quality of our current social housing stock, which I suspect a great many people would share those concerns. Mike's specific comments, which I would echo and agree with, that Council needs to focus on quality over quantity of housing. Yes, there's a large need for low-cost housing, but if Council is providing poor quality and in fact unhealthy housing for people, I really don't think that's the space Council should be in. Council should be in the space of providing adequate, healthy, safe housing for people in perhaps tougher financial spaces within the financial capacity that the Council has got. So yeah, quality over quantity would be the thought off the top of my head on that. Thanks for that question, Stephen. So again, thanks very much for connecting. Appreciate you watching this video. If any other questions do come up, I will respond to them in the comments on the Facebook post or come back to them in a future video. And let me just put a screen up at the end, and thanks again. Cheers.